Today on the Novelizers, Oscar-winning actor J.K. Simmons, comedian Fred MacAulay, plus Mike Czarnecki and intern Kevin Carter. Now, here's your host, Andy Richter.
$300 tons. Believe it or not, that's how much plastic humanity produces every single year. And that's even after you started using the canvas tote bag from NPR. Listen, if we're going to save this miraculous little blue ball we call home, each one of us is going to have to do their part. I'm talking about recycling. Recycling is the single biggest thing you can do to help the next generation. I'm Andy Richter, and recycling is what this podcast is all about. Each season, I take perfectly good movies that society has wastefully discarded, films like Three Men and a Baby, Ghost, and Dirty Dancing, and then I upcycle them. Upcycling is like recycling, but way better. Jesus, please don't tell me you're still only recycling. Ugh. I know what you're thinking. Books need paper. Paper needs trees. Well, relax, Mr. Lorax. Nobody's destroying trees. Instead, I'm having great actors narrate those books into a podcast. A podcast you can enjoy on your annually replaced iPhone, in the car on your daily 2-hour commute to Burbank, or just while killing time on your 14-hour flight to Portugal, comfortable in the knowledge that you, my friend, just saved the planet. We are the Novelizers. This season on the Novelizers, we're upcycling the classic film Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, universally lauded as the greatest motion picture ever created. Just kidding. It was only okay. But this novelized version is real good, I promise. But before we dive in, here's my intern, Kevin. Kevin, pretend for a second I haven't actually listened to the past 7 episodes of my own podcast and tell me what I've missed so far.
Sure, Andy. Kirk and the gang are fighting Khan, who's a bad guy who Kirk stranded on a planet a long time ago, but he got out and is after revenge. And also a top-secret project called Genesis. The Enterprise, battered but still working, is running the hide in a nebula. And Khan, who just restored power to his own ship, is hot on their tail.
Huh, crazy. Our next chapter was novelized by Mike Wilson and narrated by Oscar-winning actor J.K. Simmons. J.K., take it away.
Chapter 15, Spock's Geometric Blunder. Novelized by Mike Wilson. Narrated by J.K. Simmons. The starships Reliant and Enterprise slither through empty space like it isn't even there. Aboard the Enterprise, Spock gazes vacantly at the space map. Estimating nebula penetration in 2.2 minutes, he declares, a gruesome blue glow shining outward from his face, illuminating the control panel. Reliant is closing. The Enterprise lurches forward along a glistening trail of purple ions, each nacelle ingesting the space in front of it and blasting it out the back through its ass. Scary thunder and frightening lightning permeate the space outside the ship. Inside, the atmosphere gets heavy in the Jeffries tubes, a network of large maintenance conduits that span the ship, as the entire crew ducks in there to do huge bong rips and calm the fuck down. As the crew of the Enterprise cope with their situation, the Reliant is in pursuit. "If they go in there, we'll lose them," Joachim mules. "Explain it to them," barks Khan, as the Reliant gently secretes a photon torpedo in the direction of the Enterprise. The crew of the Enterprise grip their own faces to keep their balance as they shriek uncontrollably for good luck. In 10 forward, the ship's bar, a red-shirted ensign accidentally bites his own hand, flinches, and falls on his ass. The busboy simultaneously shrieks and bites the ensign's other hand. "That was close," Savik declares to the bridge crew as the photon torpedo misses the Enterprise by like an inch. Taking a brief but appalling moment to consider the situation, William Shatner guesses that they just don't want us going in there. Spock gazes vacantly at the space map. 1 minute to nebula perimeter, he declares. committing an egregious geometric blunder by invoking the two-dimensional concept of perimeter to describe a boundary in three-dimensional space. "Why are we slowing?" implores Khan from the captain's chair of the Reliant. "We daren't follow them into the nebula, sir. Our shields will be useless," Joachim replies, as if now is the right time to slow down because something is useless, as if there hadn't been like a half-dozen useless superhumans standing around the bridge doing nothing the entire time. Meanwhile, and elsewhere, Spock gazes vacantly at the Enterprise's speedometer for the Reliant. They are reducing speed. William Shatner sweats and wants to talk. "Uhura, patch me in." "Aye, sir," Uhura confirms. "You're on, Admiral." On the bridge of the Reliant, William Shatner's voice emerges from the William Shatner intercom with incredible authority. An authority that would make the immense intercom proficiency of Oscar from Charlie's Angels look weak. "This is Admiral Kirk. We tried it once your way, Khan. Are you game for a rematch?" "Khan," William Shatner continues, "I'm laughing at the superior intellect." Khan issues a direct order. "Full impulse power." Joachim responds insolently, "No, sir. You have Genesis. You can have whatever you—" "Full power, damn you!" Khan shrieks and fucking floors it on the impulse motors. The Reliant lurches forward toward the nebula. The nacelles aren't just nibbling space, they're fucking chugging it and blasting it out the backside, super bad. From the view screen inside the Enterprise, the Reliant looks like the south end of a northbound racehorse from every angle. "I'll say this for him, he's consistent," Shatner mules. Spock gazes vacantly at the space map. "We are now entering the Mutara Nebula." Aboard the Enterprise, no one can see shit on the screen anymore. All the fucking lights go out at the same time. Dr. David Marcus grips a railing and begins to twitch. In the Jeffries tubes, Casper the Friendly Ghost races from junction to junction in a mad panic, while Chilly Willy builds an igloo and desperately cocoons. People eat meat for breakfast, and hard cheeses get depressed as they go unnoticed at the back of the fridge for like weeks. "Emergency lights," William Shatner orders. The Enterprise looks like shit and keeps moving forward into the erupting nebula. The Reliant looks cool and gets jolted by nebula particles as it continues its pursuit. "Tactical," Khan intones. "Inoperative," Joachim responds. "Raise the shields," Khan intones. "As I feared, sir, not functional. I'm reducing speed." Khan and Joachim exchange mutual side eyes, then front eyes, then chill the fuck out. The Reliant and the Enterprise prance around the Mutara Nebula like a pair of mesmerized broncos in the middle of a fucking F5 tornado. Subspace lightning and purple circular thunder start off real bad and get a lot worse. Centuries before, the early titans of spacefaring would pay $475,000 to have dinner in orbit, return to Earth, and be disappointed to have to shit it out in a regular toilet. If anyone had told them space would turn out like this, they might never have left the bathroom in the first place. On the bridge of the Enterprise, the view screen is obscured by so much static that no amount of dryer sheets could even begin to chisel it all off. Everyone stares at it anyway. "Target, sir." Nobody even asked Mr. Sulu to shoot anything. All anyone knows is nobody can see a fucking thing in any direction. "Phaser lock inoperative, sir." "Best guess, Mr. Sulu. Fire when ready." Immediately ready, Mr. Sulu blasts the living shit out of the Reliant with some lasers. "Aft torpedoes!" Khan cries out from the bridge of the Reliant. "Fire!" The torpedo misses the Enterprise by an incredible margin. It almost misses outer space. "Hold your course," mumbles William Shatner, oblivious to the fact that the course is a collision course. "Evasive starboard." The Reliant messes up parts of the Enterprise with some laser flames. "Fire!" William Shatner orders in retaliation. On the Reliant, every console on the bridge simultaneously explodes. In the aftermath, Khan rages so hard that it's not enough to simply remove a piece of wreckage pinning his henchman to the ground. He fucking throws that thing.
Now that's entertainment. But before we entertain you with another chapter, here to cleanse your palate is my intern Kevin with another behind-the-scenes interview. Kevin, roll tape. Or whatever you do to make the interview play.
Hello, I'm Andy's intern, Kevin Carter, and I'm your host for the interview portion of the Novelizers. Today I'm here with Gary Winweller, who is the special effects person for Wrath of Khan 2. Gary, how's it going today?
It's going well, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I could be better. I'm broke, but I'm here now. So when I think of what I want to be when I grow up, we think of a lot of different things that we want to be. What made you say I want to be a practical effects person as a child?
Again, as a child, I think it was about some of the just interest. I saw that stuff and I was like, wow, when you're 6 years old and you see stuff like that, 8 years old, and you're like, holy crap, they're really doing that. And then you get older and you find out they're not really doing it. But, by the time I was in college and I was thinking back on those sci-fi movies and I was like, I think we really can do this, and I'd have my colleagues in school be like, oh, that's crazy. You're going to hurt people, or you might disassemble someone and it's not going to work. And what do you do then? And there's all these ethical concerns, but I'm like, I think we just got to drive it forward.
When did you get the call to say, we want you for Star Trek II Wrath of Khan?
It's kind of a funny story. I was in a cafe, and I was there because I was working there. There was a couple of fellas there, and they were talking about Star Trek and the movies and how they were getting ready to do the second movie, and it was just really interesting. And it turned out it was the producer. I just got thinking, I was like, you know what, Gary, this is your time. This is your time. So I took my apron off and I walked up to my boss and I said, you can ball this apron and shove it in your ass because I don't need your job anymore. And
that seems a little extreme, but I understand.
Yeah, but when the passion hits you and it's your moment, you go for it. So I went up to the table and I said, hey, I'm Gary Winweller, and I've been working on some, real life particle effects, and I major in lasers. And I hear you're doing the Star Trek movie. I've been listening to you talk. I've been giving you pancakes, and you told me your coffee was terrible and called me an idiot, but I'm not. And, I think I can really bring something to this. And they dismissed me. They thought I was high on drugs or something. I don't know what the deal was, but
were you high on drugs?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was high on drugs, but I didn't know that they must have also thought that I was too.
Gotcha.
I don't know what, what people's perceptions are. So I wrote my number down and I gave it to him and I said, you call me if you want to see what my technology can do. I can whip this up. I've got stuff at the university that I've done. And, they both laughed at me. They asked me for a refill and I said, I don't work here anymore. And I think they were both really impressed by that. I left and I waited for them to leave and I went back in and I asked my boss if I could have my job back because I realized I still need to make some money to eat. Right. So I got the job back. Then, I was there and then they came in again about a week later and I took my apron off and I went up to my boss and said, I mean it this time, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing this job anymore. This place sucks. And I pushed over a small rack of cups and said, I'm out of here. And I left. And a few days later, his secretary called me and said, Robert wants to see what you can do. He saw you in the cafe again. And he thinks you might have some kind of substance problem that's going to have to get dealt with before you start, but he does want to see what you're doing. When you come here, please wear a shirt. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And
Did you not normally wear shirts?
Well, I mean, I had taken it off when I quit. You know what I mean? I ripped it off. Like I tried to do it like the Incredible Hulk, but I wasn't really strong enough. So I just kind of took it off and threw it. It was their shirt. I wasn't really allowed to keep it. They'd have charged me $4 for it, and I couldn't really afford that. So then I spent about the next 8 or 9 months really getting stuff ready, and then, showed up and we really got to work.
Is there anything specific that the listeners had saw in the movie that you can say, that was me, I did that?
So there's a scene in there. It's actually one of the few scenes where you actually see the characters be beamed up. There's a lot of beaming down, which unfortunately my beaming downs were actually all cut for various reasons, mostly that the actors unfortunately did not come through in the forms they had been beamed up as. But the beaming up scenes, there was one of them where 4 of the characters were beamed up, and there's sort of a funny story about that because William Shatner actually was reassembled in a remote part of the Philippines. And we didn't know really what happened, and we didn't hear from him for probably, 4 months. So we had to film a lot of the scenes, that he wasn't in, and finally we got a call, and he said, I appeared in an outdoor market without my uniform. I don't know where that is, and I was arrested. And it's just kind of a fun adventure for him, I think it sounded like, and we finally got him back, and he wouldn't go near any of my effects after that, which was unfortunate. But
how many people did you lose in the making of this film?
I would say of people who did not continue their acting careers after my effects, I think maybe 12 tops. I feel like with the transporter, with the reassembly, did we have anyone who was, killed? No, of course not. But, did we have a couple people who were reassembled as what you and I would probably call a Siamese twin or a conjoined twin? Yes. Mm-hmm. Did we lose a couple of people who may have been transported to other parts of the earth? Also, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say the words, we didn't kill anybody,
right?
But you also say we lost them and we can't find them.
Uh-huh.
And we haven't seen them in over 30 years.
Right.
Is it safe to assume they're dead, or do you like to keep your hopes up? You say, no, they're still alive out there somewhere.
I think it's actually safe to assume that they were transported somewhere where they were happy. I mean, if I, beamed one of the extras to, a beautiful part of Switzerland, I mean, why are they going to come back? They're going to look and they're going to say, these hills are beautiful and this place has excellent health care. And I'm not going to go back to anything. I'm going to build a life here. And I honestly think that's probably based on what happened to Will. I would assume that is more than likely what happened. So,
I like to ask the people I interview about, saying life on set, with the actors and the actresses and things like that. How was it when you introduced like new technology to the actors? Were they receptive to it? Were they kind of, nervous, afraid? How was that interaction?
Well, I think there's a healthy amount of skepticism anytime you're showing somebody something new. At first, when we were using it, we were getting some of the quirks worked out and stuff. I think it freaked some people out. I think it freaked out the producer. I think it freaked out the director. I think it freaked out all the people who were funding it, the studio, the production company, marketing. I think it freaked out a lot of the stagehands, carpenters, cameramen, the boom mic operators and lighting.
So how did that make you feel knowing that?
It was mixed. I mean, I was very proud of the technology. I think I did a really good job with it, and I wasn't offended. I was like, I understand new things can be scary, and sometimes when somebody comes back and, their arm is, now physically attached to their leg, it can be a little weird, and we try to back it up, and sometimes it fixes it, sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like as an actor, you need to be able to take risks. You see these actors all the time, doing things with their body weight and your plastic surgery. And, how's that really different? How's that really different? There's risk in everything. And after a while, I think the studio just kind of got tired of their attitudes and, kind of blamed me for it.
So the listeners want to know life after the movie. How are things for you now that the movie's over with? I mean, huge success. How are things now for you, Gary?
Things were tough for quite a while. You know how Hollywood is. You get yourself in a pickle one time, you become somebody's scapegoat just because people are missing, and there's a lot of litigation from what happened on the set, and next thing you know, nobody's calling you, nobody wants to call you back, and I had to start doing some smaller films, some independent films, some other types of films that were a lot less challenging. Just keep kind of food on the table. I had to ended up going back to that cafe and trying to get that job back, but apparently that ship had sailed. So I started teaching. Opened my own school for a little while of Gary's practical effects, and it went okay. It operated for about a year and a half. We pumped about 300 students through it. And then we were shut down by the LA County Sheriff's Department, the Health Department, the Occupational Health and Safety Organization. A couple of environmental groups were protesting.
Jesus, Gary.
Yeah. It was a mess. I'm telling you, like once you're blacklisted in Hollywood, forget about it. The next thing you know, like you can't, you're mixing certain chemicals. You're like, this is fine. And it's getting, they're like, oh, it's getting into the, local water and stuff. And it's just, it's a fiasco after that. And so.
Whoa. But you know what, Gary? I want to thank you for this interview, for this
thank
look
you.
inside your life and everything like that. It was really good. It was really nice and refreshing to hear. And we're sorry for your troubles, mentally, emotionally, and legally. We are sorry for all your troubles that you've had. I want to thank everybody for listening to this portion of the Novelizers. I'm Kevin Carter. This was Gary Winweller, and please enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Thanks, buddy. Our next chapter was novelized by The Big Bang Theory's John Ross Bowie and narrated by comedian Fred MacAulay. Enjoy.
Okay, this is chapter 16, Scotty Loses Consciousness, and I'm Fred MacAulay. I'm going to be reading this, and it was written by John Ross Bowie. As the smoke clears, I stagger away for the damage. Oh, everything fucking hurts. My back, of course, as always, but my knees are starting to kill me as well. I was going to have to ask the computer for a new patella, and bones, maybe could you get me some new painkillers, because I've developed a tolerance to the old ones, and they'd make me constipated. I haven't had a poo in 3 fucking days. 3 days, if you can believe that. And these new uniforms, they're shite. Perfectly climate-controlled spacecraft. We've got an internal gravity system. Each room has a thermostat. Bloody Federation has us dressed up like wee toddlers in Antarctica. Jesus. Damage, Mr. Scott, says the wee cunt with the naft hair. Because apparently it would fucking kill him to ask how I'm doing. Admiral, which, by the way, you can fuck off. I was with you at the academy. You cheated your way through the Kobayashi Maru, you raj wee shite. Captain, I've got to take the mains off the line. Fucking hell. I'm dizzy. I feel Bones shove his arms under mine, which is fucking hilarious. I'm like a tree trunk next to that spindly wee wanker, but I let him carry me off. I can barely exhale. It's the radiation, before he lays me down on the floor, which is spinning like mad, and the sweat is pissing off me. And that daft cunt Kirk leaves the channel open, first in his class at Starfleet Academy, so I can hear him in the Vulcan and the whole bridge. And guess what? They're all sounding terribly concerned about me and my health. Kidding. They keep their heads firmly up their arses, and apparently a barely conscious chief engineer with radiation sickness is just not a fucking priority. Well, fuck the lot of them. I can just make out Chekhov's wee little Soviet voice offer to help, like the do-gooder roaster Dougie always is to James T. Cunt puts him in the weapons. Spock offers some horseshit about sporadic energy readings, port side aft, could be an impulse turn. Oh, do you think, laddie, that the Reliant might just be doing shite impulsively after we blew them halfway to hell? Where would we be without your wisdom, you soft prick? It goes quiet for a spell, or I do. Fucking hell. I'm knackered. Either way, next thing I know, Spock is talking shite again, all about how Khan's intelligent but not experienced and thinks two-dimensionally, which is him sticking his tongue right up the Admiral's arse. Kirk beats him one time at 3D chess, and the only way to get him to pay attention is to feed his wee frail ego. But lo and behold, it works. Bolt, Spock, you mangled wee fud. Kirk summons his serious voice and announces Z minus 10,000 meters, ready torpedoes. And I think, Jesus, Khan must be a complete fucking wankstein if Kirk's master strategy is to just go south and go boom. But the fuck do I know? I just make the shit move forward through space and time, and you dinna have to listen to me. I feel the ship drop, but I'm already woozy, so I spew a big, chunky, loud boke, and they can totally hear it in the bridge, but they can't. They didn't care, so don't mind me. I'll just be hearing my own nuclear sick. Admiral Chode himself yells, "Fire!" 3 times, and I can hear them connect the way torpedoes do when they sneak up behind you, thanks to his son Fickin' Sue down there in the big chair that spins round. Kirk tells Uhuru to tell the Reliant to surrender and prepare to be boarded. We barely have the fucking power to flush a toilet, but oh aye, sure, let's transport a landing crew. Brilliant, laddie. What's above Admiral? Chief Egypt? Khan whispers something. He's not going without a fight, so maybe a 4th torpedo might have been in order. Philosopher King Fanny. I can hear Khan say, "To the last I will grapple with thee," which is what Ahab says to Moby Dick. Aye, you can fuck off, I went to university. And all I can think is, Jesus, to be a whale, the Admiral would have to drop about 10 stone. I even whisper, "lol," which is a phrase my great granny used to say, but Jesus, I'm losing consciousness fast. Just as well. Get to fuck the lot of you.
Fabulous stuff. And I'm sorry to say the best part of your day is now over. See you next time. Kevin, land this spaceship.
Will do, Andy. Thanks to this week's guest contributors: Mike Wilson, J.K. Simmons, John Ross Bowie, Fred MacAulay, plus Mike Czarnecki. Link to their fabulous books, swag, and cameo accounts can all be found in the show description. The Novelizers was created by Stephen Levinson, produced by Stephen, Chris Karwowski, and Rob Kuttner, and edited, mixed, and mastered by Chris Karwowski. Music by Cole Imhoff, Andrew Lynn, Mike Wilson, and Chris Messick. Special thanks to Sarah Mabe, Crystal Dennis, Dennis DiClaudio, and Hannah Levinson. Follow the Novelizers on Instagram and Twitter at The Novelizers, or visit thenovelizers.com. The Novelizers is a work of parody unauthorized by Paramount, Roddenberry Entertainment, or Star Trek. I'm Andy's intern, Kevin Carter. See you next time.